Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony Vargas with Sound and Communications, and I'm here with John Ackerman, Communications Director and Solutions Advocate for Mankin Media Systems. Thanks for being with us today, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we've been talking with AV professionals around the industry just about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected, everybody's day-to-day operations and stuff. How has it affected what you guys are doing on your day-to-day at Mankin Media?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it feels a little weird to say this, but our business as a whole has not really been impacted all that greatly. I mean, we are seeing some challenges with getting product for clients and stock levels, but our day-to-day operations really have not been impacted, and part of that is because a couple of years ago we kind of diversified a few things and we're able to offer some managed services to our clients to be able to do the maintenance and updates and all that stuff. So we're kind of in this waiting game though of like, I think the industry lags behind the economy and some of these announcements and everything. And so I think, in 6 months, we may be saying something differently, but right now we're actually doing the same amount of business and we're having the same amount of conversations with folks.
You mentioned some potential concerns about supply chain issues. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're utilizing a piece of technology that's either manufactured or designed in a foreign country, and we're based in the US, you have to look at that supply chain. And especially with a lot of the travel, NAB shutting down, Infocom not happening, a lot of these places where the manufacturers are releasing is causing a lot of delays. And so, even something as simple as Blackmagic's new ATEM Mini Pro, they wanted to release it this last week, and they're now just starting production of it. And so you look at that, and you look at some of the needs that people have for getting online video and doing it really well and in a high quality way. It's causing a run on any equipment that's available. And so we've seen 3, 4, 6 week delays. We actually kind of figured this was going to happen and pre-ordered or ordered about 20 AJA Helos, and we sold out of those within 2 weeks. And the next time any of that equipment is going to arrive at our facility is the middle of June. And so you look at that combined with an increase in need and not being able to get product, and all of a sudden it's a scramble to find alternate solutions.
And you mentioned this is kind of a slow season for Mankin as far as installations and stuff, but obviously there's been a slowdown in field work across the board.
Yeah.
How has this affected you guys and your workforce?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, we've been able to maintain all of our staff levels, and we run a really tight and lean machine. Ben does, our owner and founder, and it's been interesting to try to figure out how to stay in the field, how to support our customers and clients when you can't drive to them. And I'm thankful that 3 years ago we launched Guardian by Mankin, which is a managed service that allows us to basically remote into anybody's system and be able to monitor and help them. We've got 2 or 3 different lines of products that people can actually press a button on their intercom and call our network operations center. We have the ability to do more than just like a VPN into their system and look at gear, but we actually get alerts on their gear when it's sick. And so we're actually able to hold off a lot of that maintenance and do it remotely and not have to go send a tech to that site. And so a lot of that, we actually 3 years ago knew that there was a run on talent in our industry for the best and the brightest. And so we figured, how do we support a bunch of different businesses and churches and houses of worship with fewer staff? And that's Guardian by Mankin.
Yeah, and speaking of the Guardian service, and just like how well diversified you guys are in terms of your service offerings, have you seen increased demand from clients for managed services? And along those same lines, has that kind of increased the workload on your managed services team as well?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. In general, we for probably the last 24 months, I would say the last 12 months, it has been a slow and steady increase. I think a lot of these conversations, people are really, really waiting, both installation, upgrades, repair to non-essential equipment, managed services, kind of some of the periphery is kind of just put on hold right now. In a lot of our conversations, people are saying, "Oh my gosh, this is solving all the problems. This would solve all the problems that I have had in the past, but my leadership or my CFO wants us to just put a pause on all these conversations." And so we are finding that there is that kind of slowdown, but we're still having a lot of conversations. We're still doing a lot of demos on stuff, and we're still able to support our current customers at the same pace. Now how do I say this? We did find some partnerships with our infrastructure that have actually allowed us to expand and diversify. And it's been really interesting because when people find out about our infrastructure in certain areas, like in the house of worship market, they're saying, "Hey, that applies to my market as well," and we're actually able to still maintain the support because of that diversification. You know, houses of worship, they're, you know, Wednesday night or Saturday night or Sunday morning, and that's when they're needing a lot of that support. But the business world in general is Monday through Friday, and so we're able to shift some hours, continue to maintain both house of worship and business clients with our current levels.
And when it comes to your managed service offerings, are there any kind of particular like market segments or at specific applications that you're seeing more demand for, or maybe less demand for?
Yeah, I mean, so we really have four main components to our managed services. We have Lifeline, Protect, Game Film, and Slipstream. And really, the two that are having the most conversations are the Protect and Lifeline. You know, Lifeline is basically what it sounds like press a button on your intercom and call somebody for a lifeline for troubleshooting, for help doing something. Lifeline allows us to shade cameras remotely and reroute systems in your SDI router or your Dante network, all from our network operations center. And so because we have that infrastructure built, because we have two lines of power coming into the building and two network connections going in opposite directions at opposite sides of our building, we can operate 24/7 without any kind of challenges with somebody hitting a pole and taking out our internet and network infrastructure. And so we're actually able to offer those same services that have been really house of worship focused on schools, on local TV stations that have a reporter out in the field. We can still offer Lifeline where their network operations engineer can connect with our NOC and get support because they only have one guy in the office. We're trying to figure out different ways to communicate our offerings, and again, are having a lot of really good conversations about it.
And just as kind of a final note on this conversation, do you have any kind of advice or words of wisdom for your fellow AV professionals as they continue to navigate this crisis?
Yeah, have heart, right? All these things will over time kind of go past us and go by us. It's something that it's deeply impacting everybody. And so one of the things that I would say is, what we're trying to do is to reach out to our network of contacts and other integrators that we've known in the industry for years, because the integration industry is kind of somewhat of a tight-knit group. People know each other from NAB or Infocom or different conferences, and then they move on and they kind of tend to cross paths over time. But ask for help. We would love to help. We were able to sell some AJA Helos to a fellow integration company because they had a bunch of clients that needed them. Now, we could have just kept those to ourselves, but we know that when we work together, we're better. And so this isn't a time to hoard or a time to try to circle the wagons and not allow anybody else in, but to be able to offer support and guidance and just a listening ear to other integrators.
It's definitely a great sentiment to keep in mind in these difficult times.
Yeah.
So, John, just want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us about this difficult subject, and
Yeah.
we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and I really appreciated the time you took.
Thanks a lot, John.
Yep. Thanks.